Right, let's try again. I think everything is okay now. Fannying about with all of my equipment, trying to make it all look as great as possible. And as soon as we went live, I got kicked off the program. But I think we are live now. Show me a signal, somebody. Let me know you can see and hear me. Welcome along. It is Inspire and Be Inspired, weekly motivational conversations. And Jimmy Mack says, yes, we're on. Sorry, Jimmy, my OBS died immediately. And as you can see, I got these things all in front of my face. I do like to make a rod for my own back. Let me move that out of the way. We are live on Facebook, but I am going to kill the Facebook stream very shortly and direct you over to my YouTube. If you want to hear this conversation continue, let me press this button and bring the crew onto the stream. I'm just double checking, make sure that we haven't been cut off. Yes, we're working fine. We have Craig Bartlett, Lee Wright and Mark Wilkinson, the Soulful House Mafia. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How are we, gentlemen? Okay.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, all good, all good.
Wonderful. That's what I like to see. So everything is working fine. Now I can't read the chat. This is beautiful. You've absolutely got to love it, but it doesn't matter. Let me just get this sorted. I compose myself.
You're a tech guru, Andy. Remember, big yourself up.
I am a tech guru. I can't read any of the comments. How am I going to do this? Right. Talk amongst yourselves, guys.
I'll tell you what I'm doing, Andy. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm now posting your YouTube link out to like about 30 different pages of mine saying, come and join us online. So you crack on doing that and I'll do a bit of promotion.
Well, I'm doing this.
Likewise.
What are you doing, Craig?
I'm just sat here looking at myself in the mirror.
And what a beautiful image it is.
Look at that. I got a sweatshirt on, and I'll be honest, totally transparent, yeah? Business at the top, relaxation in the pajamas down the bottom.
Don't ever let anyone say you've got old, Craig.
Well, to be honest,
no, don't.
It's 8:05. I'm normally in bed on a Monday at 8:05 after the weekend.
Listen, it's 9:05 for me. I'm 25 minutes away from my bedtime.
I would be done. At 9:05.
Okay, so everything is working. I can see the comments now. Thank you for being here, guys. Complete shambles to begin with, but here we are, 4 minutes slightly delayed. So let me put some context on this conversation. The Soulful House Mafia was a name lovingly given to myself, Lee and Craig 2 years ago, I believe, when we joined Mark Wilkinson on his live stream as he was getting ready to promote his book, Life Remixed. We were talking about the trials and tribulations of being resident DJs and promoters as well. All four of us are experienced promoters, being a questionable word. And we have reconvened occasionally on this live stream to discuss what we've been up to. And tonight we are going to look back and see how life on the dance floor is post-COVID. So I'll say good evening to everyone with us live and throw it over to the boys. A bit of a shambles live. Mark, as I said, you gave us the Soulful House Mafia moniker. And although many people will be aware of the story, a wise man once told me repetition is mastery. So we do like to repeat the story, right?
Yes, absolutely. Repetition is mastery. And I'll also add to that a wise man once said nothing. So sometimes we have to just keep quiet, right? But not tonight, because that wouldn't make good telly. So, look, I mean, I was promoting Life Remix, like you said, and I was reaching out to, important people from around the scene. I had Fatboy Slim, and I ended up with you three somehow. But we put together a really great stream. It was great fun. We had like 2 hours, didn't we, online? And it was during COVID times, and it was, I think people were just latching on to being able to connect, right? Because it's such a weird thing to think about, the fact that we weren't able to like connect for a year or two, physically in nightclubs or at events or seminars or anything. It was just a really great opportunity. It was a really fun conversation, and you have absolutely kept the vibe alive, Andy, by keeping people talking. And some of the streams and everything you've been doing ever since have just been absolutely phenomenal, mate. It's been fantastic. But yeah, I lovingly called you through the Soulful House Mafia because I've always been a Soulful House bod myself, but maybe not necessarily always played that because I was caught up in the Junior Boy Zone and then the Ministry of Sound kind of days and stuff like that in the bar. So yeah, I was always impressed with you guys, and it was just a great opportunity for us all to get together. And I know we're all really grateful to be here tonight, mate.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for saying that. Thank you for your kind words. You are a gentleman who enabled me to accept a compliment, and there's a lot of things that you've enabled me to do over the last few months, so I'll always be very grateful for that. We're talking about streaming. Let me come to Lee next, because since COVID began, you also got heavily involved in the live streaming. And again, we've spoken about this quite a few times on the stream, but it doesn't hurt to talk about it again. And especially in recent times, Soulful House DJs on a Sunday over on Mixcloud, it's going from strength to strength. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, we started, somebody else was doing some streams and I was jumping on theirs. And then I just thought, that was multi-genre. So I just thought, you know what, I just want to be able to do something that's as deep or as varied within the Soulful House genre as possible. And called a few people up, and people got on board. Yeah, and it's good. It's a bit like the old. I don't know if you remember the 8-Ball page, or there was various chat rooms back in the early internet where people would just drop in, and it's a bit like that, really. I think people just, they just drop in. It's a bit of a...
And a little later on, we'll talk about your first event that you're finally getting off the ground up in Leeds, right? I am right in assuming that's the first one that you're actually putting on live.
First Soulful House DJs party, yeah.
Perfect. Well, we'll talk about that in a little while. Let's go to Craig, a gentleman who's kicking and screaming against the advent of technology and refuses to go live online, but throws an amazing party in real life and has been doing for 25 plus years. 2023 is 25 years of Lamerica. We say congratulations. A big party coming up with Young Pulse soon, and then some big parties all through the summer as well.
Yeah, as you say, I sort of really struggled. I really appreciated the COVID times, connecting through people's technological advances and engaging with their streams. I know Mark was ever present, yourself and your development, and not to blow smoke up your ass because I don't like doing that, but how you've come on in the last 2 years and what you're doing and the help that you're facilitating for others is admirable, I think. And I wish I could consume that knowledge. I just can't. So I'm a people person. I like throwing parties. I don't like throwing parties. I just don't know what else to do, is the honest truth. But yeah, 25 years, we've got Young Pulse taking it real back to the origins of where Lamerica came from, that disco funk boogie. And this kid has got so much energy. He puts us to shame, really. I mean, he's all over it, absolutely smashing the re-edits. And I just thought, 25 years in America, I've got to do something a little bit special. So I'm just breaking it up into disco, house, classics, so that everybody gets whichever strand or part of the night and the process and the concept, they get to feel some of it. And if they don't want to come, or they don't like the disco side of it, they can come to the house side of it. So yeah, a couple of nice parties coming up in the next 3 or 4 months to celebrate 25 years, which, as you say, a nice achievement. And I'm thankful that I'm sat here talking to you guys about it, because otherwise I'm not quite sure what else I'd talk about. Because Cardiff City's not the greatest of things to talk about, and the weather isn't as great. But I'm really pleased post-COVID. And I'm sure we'll go on to how the scene is and how it is across the country and the world, and the sort of the chaos that the post-COVID era has brought, and the impetus that it's given a lot of people, but also the dramas that comes along with trying to promote these events and increased costs and the headaches.
Indeed, the stresses and the headaches and the woes.
Yeah, of course.
Well, let me pick you up on something you said then about young Pulse and his energy. 25 years ago, I think you would have to go far and wide to find anyone with as much energy as the four of us here. So the fact that we are on the other side of 50, Lee, are you 50 now? Yeah, the fact that we're all on the other side of 50, I'm not having it that someone's coming along and giving us a run for our money, because we've been there, seen there, done it.
But yeah, it is. But I'm looking at it. You're right. I'm looking at it the perspective as the age I am now and the position I'm in. And I look at him and I think, wow. I mean, he has got so much energy. He's doing gigs left, right, and centre. He's playing.
Did you hear how he did at Southport?
He did really, really well. The videos and the information that I've seen. He's playing classic house, nice classic disco, re-edit disco. Main room, 10:30 till 12. I think he played Saturday.
Beautiful. Good to hear.
I am just going to drop out a minute. This light feels like I'm in an intense sunbeam and I'm melting. So just give me 2 seconds.
Doesn't it like punishment?
No problem. It's like the SAS. So what I'm going to do while you're doing that, I'm going to say again to everybody on Facebook, I am going to kill the Facebook stream now. Head on over to youtube.com/DJ Andy Ward, where we are going to continue talking, okay? So come and join us if you're interested. The time now for the UK people will be just after 12 minutes after 8 o'clock. So that was what time we finished on Facebook, okay? So there we've gone off of Facebook and we're still on YouTube recording for the future. Right, so Mark, you heard me saying about energy and 25 years ago. In those 25 years, actually before 25 years, you would have been resident at Ministry, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it must be. I was about 25, so it's 27 years ago now. Yeah, it's gone quick, mate.
Mm-hmm. Madness.
Yeah.
And the energy. And would you say that the clubbing scene now is as hype as it was back when we were doing it, or is it hard for you to comment?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to comment because I've all grown up now. To be honest, I don't spend a lot of time in nightclubs. My life used to be 100% music. That was my thing. It was 100% music, and I lived it and breathed it, from the record shop days to the studio to the nightclubs to being out Thursday, Friday, Saturday at your club on your Sunday club sometimes, Andy. I remember up in Brum, and that was it. I lived it and breathed it for 20 years or whatever. Nowadays, after my life remixed experience and my bankruptcy and the incurable disease and everything else that you've read about, I don't go out clubbing particularly very much. I do like to hear music. I do love listening to the streams. I love Soulful House DJs, of course, and what you do, Andy, as well. And I love a day party. I like a day/evening party. But by about like midnight, I'm starting to turn into a pumpkin. The other thing is that I have to get up at 6 a.m. now on a Monday morning because I've got contracts and work and all sorts of stuff going on, which I love, by the way. And I earn more money now than I've ever earned before in my life. But my point is that to get up at 6 a.m. on a Monday morning and all through the week, I can't be out all night on the weekends. So on top of that, obviously, I've been doing some Life Remix lives. We've been doing all-day seminars, which have gone tremendously well, I have to say, hundreds, up to 150 people at these different seminars we've done. I love them. I love public speaking. Who knew? But I love public speaking. I love talking about obviously all the subjects I covered in my book. And the Life Remix Live, the next one is actually at the Ministry. So it's like I'm going home, brothers and sisters. I'm going back to the Ministry, and we're going to do a Life Remix Live seminar. It's a Wednesday evening, so it'll be in the members club. But we'll be there from sort of 5:30 till 11 o'clock or whatever, doing a talk and then some music in the bar area. And I really do hope that that's going to lead on to bigger things and do more around that venue, because that venue means so much to me, having been there when I was.
And we nip at. Well, it means a lot to us all, actually. So what time is it finishing?
It's a Wednesday night, so it's a school night. So we'll be there from straight after people finish work at 5:30 through till 11 o'clock. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of members at the Ministry members club. So I'll be giving a talk to them about Life Remixed live. brothers and sisters. Yeah, and then I'll be doing a bit of DJing for an hour or two in the bar as well. So it'll be a lovely evening. And my genuine hope is that lots of, particularly London people, will come down there. Lots of the ministry members will be there. We'll have a really interesting evening, and then, of course, ideally, we'd maybe start to do something there on a Saturday and build that up. And why not? So soulful house music and self-development.
Love it. I love it.
The members thing, Mark. What does that, as a member of the Ministry of Sound, what would that give you? What would that grant you as a member?
So I think I'm sure you might understand, or maybe you don't. But Ministry of Sound is the club, obviously, that we all know, and then round the back of the railway arches, around the street behind, which I've got the name of now, by Borough Station, they've got a members club. And it's like it's a bar, workspace, venue. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's Hector. Remember Hector from Ministry used to do all the bookings and stuff from the main club. So Hector's involved in there. It's a beautiful space. And it's a workspace. It's over about 4 or 5 floors. But in the main event, the main area downstairs, they've got a seminar space for about 150 people. So it's called The Ministry rather than the Ministry of Sound, but they basically back onto each other. It's all the same people that we used to hang around with when we were nippers, but we're just doing something slightly different. So watch this space, but we're hoping that it goes really, really well. It's May the 10th, so it's a couple of months away yet. So
some way away. So Lee, you're listening to these conversations about daytime parties being the way forward. You're probably the most active out of the 4 of us as a DJ. You still have regular gigs Fridays and Saturdays, and you are involved with other projects up there. So tell us about your energy levels and your passion and your drive for everything. Shaking his head like, I can't be asked.
No. The energy's there at the time, but the recovery is not what it was. I think that's the best way to put it. But I think since after the lockdown, that whole new genre of daytime, sort of the brunchy things, they've really gone to another level, and that's been quite helpful, because I think if you maybe were from the era before us, or even of our generation, if once you got tired of the clubs, or you couldn't, you'd been replaced, for want of a better word, by newer kids on the block, there wasn't really an angle for you then, whereas now it's sort of gone full circle, and if you've got a good array of music, you can play a lot of these brunch gigs, because it's open format, so you can play right across the board on the music. So I think it's helped a lot of people still work, to be fair.
So let me say, because as you all know, we like to make this as interactive as possible, I want to say hi to Joanne, to Neville, I'm not sure if you're still watching, Mr. Brasstooth, good evening, my friend, Emily, Julian, DJ K, regular on the Soulful House DJs, passes by, Sinky B as well, also says hi. These are all YouTube names as well, so you have to forgive me by not being able to give you a proper name check. Danny Wood says good evening, and I do remember seeing Jimmy Mac earlier. So if you've got any questions for any of these boys, do let me know, because Lee as well, I hadn't mentioned, but I'm sure that most people will be aware, resident DJ for Back to Basics, and regular DJ at many of the clubs up north and Hard Times. Actually, I'm sure I saw an old flyer that you were resident at Hard Times as well.
Yeah, because when the Basics at the pleasure rooms sort of shut down, there was just a period where they didn't really have a club, and I think just sort of Steve Rain had just sort of said, would you play a few sets for us, because they weren't originally in Leeds, they were in Huddersfield, and then when they came, so there was a period, just a little bit.
That did surprise me when I saw that flyer. So we've all got our fair share of tales to tell. Mark, in the few occasions that we've spoken on these streams, I don't think we've ever really spoken a great deal about your Kidology parties. Do you want to talk us through how they began and the highs and lows of what that entailed?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I started Kidology as a sort of nod to myself and Rocky as the problem kids, because Rocky and I made quite a few records on Junior Boy's Own. Although when I listen back to them now, they seem really fast. They seem like, I don't know why that would be, but they seem really fast. So, but I listened back to them, and they were great times. And me and Rocky, we used to have a great laugh together. In fact, he was round here a few weeks ago, and we had a nice dinner party together. So we were properly grown up now. So we're not problem kids anymore. So Rocky went back obviously to Express 2 because they made Lazy, and that blew up massively for them with David Byrne from. David Byrne, was he talking? Where was he from?
Yeah, David Byrne.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So that was an absolutely massive seminal moment for them, and all power to them. But I needed something else. I was like, well, I need to keep making records and doing whatever I want to keep doing. So I came up with Kidology, and Kidology, I actually heard Alex Ferguson use the word. So Alex Ferguson, a football manager, he said they were talking about Chelsea maybe winning the league one year, and Alex Ferguson said that's just Kidology, and I went, that's a good word. I'll have that. So I grabbed that and I ran with it, and it was great. It kind of morphed into something quite huge. And I remember a lot of the Boys' Own. Like you guys will appreciate this because Soulful House, bods and what we do. But I used to have a bit of a reputation for playing all these like nice, soulful, kind of fluffy kind of records that always made me feel good. But they always attracted a lot of women. There was always a lot of women at the front of the club because they were all celebrating the music and everything else. So I was popular with the ladies and with the music I played. That was all. So it kind of developed into, there was always a big bunch of women. And one of my friends once called them the Wilkettes or something, or the Wilkiettes or something. Anyway, we came up with Kidology Kidettes. And these women were just brilliant. They were just party central. And everywhere we went, all over the London clubs, from the End to Ministry to the Cross and all these like legendary, clubs, we just put on events. And I remember I got every Friday night at the Cross for about a year and a half. We did that towards the end of the Cross when it was going to close. We did the last year and a half on a Friday. And it was just, it was brilliant, and all the colours, all the memories.
Seasons in Ibiza as well, right?
Yeah, we did seasons in Ibiza. I teamed up with Paul from Kinky Malinky for one of those, and then we did a few others. I did another one with Salvation every Tuesday. Seasons in Ibiza, brilliant. But the ironic thing is that actually when I did the seasons in Ibiza, I'd actually given up alcohol by then. So I managed to do like 3 summer seasons in Ibiza with not one drink.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I have written down in my book here to make sure I talk about being alcohol-free. 18 years now. Clean and sober.
Yeah. It's been a long time. I don't miss it at all. It's not something that really attracts me anymore. I think when you've been diagnosed with an incurable disease that's an inflammatory disease, and then you realise that the biggest inflammation thing you can put in your body is alcohol, then you just have a simple decision to make. And so my decision was, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then, but by not doing that, I cleaned up my entire act. And that's when life remixed or things changed. So, but certainly great times, fantastic times all the way through. And what I find now is that I listen to music almost like a 6-year-old kid. I listen to music like what I did, when I was 6 years old, there was no alcohol involved. When I heard, Elvis and the Beatles for the first time, there was no alcohol. I wasn't drunk. I don't think so anyway. But my point is that, I now feel that I feel music like I did when I was a little kid. And that's a beautiful feeling, actually.
Yeah, well, you saying that, let me draw. I put out a call for some comments, and I'm getting a few questions here, which is quite nice. So, Ray King, good evening, my man. Craig, I'll direct this to you because I know you have, with Paige, I know you can relate to this. Ray says, my daughter has just turned 18 and she started going to clubs. Her core music taste is classic house. She's drawn to that the most. And Ray asks, do you think we would look back on the current scene with the same nostalgia? So I think he's asking, is it going to be that? I don't think it can be, is it? But
I don't know.
So how old is Paige? I know she's older than 18.
Yeah, she's 27, my daughter, and she loves all styles of music, predominantly because me and her mum have always listened to different styles, but her preferred choice would be drum and bass. She loves Andy C's her favourite DJ, and she goes out regularly to big parties. She goes to like Amsterdam Weekenders and all over the country. And I think listening to her and her friends, they're as equally as nostalgic now as we are about our stuff, even though the time frame is shorter. She's only been into clubbing, I don't know, since she was about 19, 20, I would have thought, and by no means a weekly thing like we all were in the late 80s, early 90s. It's more I think the difference is because the scene is so well established and has been for the best part of 30 years, it's different but similar is the only way I can describe it. When we were getting into it, it was a lifestyle change and a societal change, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was like the anarchy of the 70s with the punks was house music and warehouse raves and freedom and love and spirituality. And of course, everything that
went with it.
Well, what I would add to that is I also didn't go to work for about 4 years.
Yes. Yeah. And Mondays never existed, did they? No. But I think they're I wouldn't say they're a lot more sensible because you see, young kids go out with probably more wild abandonment than we did, knowing what we did. So I do know that they do look upon days gone by, nights gone by, previous years with great fun, and in great detail they recount when so-and-so played. Do you remember when they played that tune? And I can hear my daughter and her friends talking about, and I love to listen to them talking about it because I never in my wildest dreams thought that we would be in a position many years later doing very similar things. We all assumed, and I'm guessing I'm talking for all of us, that eventually it would end. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never thought it would go on forever. I never thought I would be sat here 32 years after I had my first sort of, wow, what's this music kind of experience? Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. Yeah. It is. It's caught us all by surprise. Yeah. And many would say we should grow up at some point, but that's completely overrated.
But I think we have grown up. And as Leah said, and as you pointed out, and Mark, daytime parties for my age group are absolutely essential, because when I promote parties myself in Cardiff, people are going, "Oh, not a nighttime one. Can you do a daytime one?" And it's like, "Okay, I'll do a daytime one." And then the kids go, "Oh, what are you doing a daytime one for? We're going to have to go out all day and all night." They think of it slightly different. Whereas my older lot that have been with me from the beginning, 4 o'clock, I'm all over it. Let's do it. I'll be home by 10:30. Fantastic. Yeah, because that suits them. Whereas the kids, the younger clientele we got, plan an after party as well. So they're out all day and all night and into the next day.
Yeah, but they weren't like us. They weren't rocking into work on a Tuesday morning like we did after going out on the Thursday night. So Sinky, I see the question. He says, or she, forgive me, do you think dance and house will ever dominate the mainstream again? Well, I think it is, right?
It is now, right?
Yeah, I would have said it is. Maybe not to the extent of, well, I don't know. I think it is. How bigger can it be? Lee, you were doing it on a regular. I keep drawing reference to you being the most active out of all of us. You know how to play the game between pleasing the crowd and pleasing your own musical, the need to please yourself when you're playing music. But, is it a juggling act?
And let's not get it twisted. When you please yourself when you're DJing, that's not what Andy used to do behind the decks.
Come on now, calm down.
Not what you're doing in your pajamas either.
Go on, Lee.
No, I think that back then, the music what we were playing when it hit the charts, it was something that sounded completely different. Because if you think of the pop music of the time, you wouldn't have had a 4/4 beat and things like that. Now, the pop music has elements of our thing, so whether it be Dua Lipa and all this sort of music, it has elements of it. So maybe that's what they mean. I mean, there was a time when the tune the tune I remember the most was Ultranate Free, because we were still just doing our thing, and then that tune came out. I remember it on a red vinyl, Strictly Rhythm, and then it just took the charts, and then that was for our scene, for that soulful house. So there's still been big hits with Love Can't Turn Around, and the Chicago stuff had dominated in the late 80s, but that's when I thought, hang on, it's going to go commercial here, because...
Can anybody think off the top of their head before Free, that will automatically take me back to those glory Miami times. Before Free, anything big that crossed over? Because if you go back 6 or 7 years to 1990, 1991, you're talking about Orbital Chime, you're talking about Alternate and all those kind of records.
The Face Needing You, that was a big one, wasn't it?
What was that?
The David Morales, The Face Needing You.
Yeah, I think that was around the same time, 97, wasn't it?
Thereafter, just a bit. That's the and then the sound changes a little bit, and it's not quite as underground,
Moose T, Horny as well.
If you go back to your conversation with Ricky Morrison last week, and I don't know if anybody did just watch that, and I would advise you to watch it, because Ricky's probably one of the most humblest blokes I've ever met, the most amazing DJ, probably one of the best producers this country's ever produced. And to listen to his story about Sal Soul Nugget, the fact that he didn't tell you how much they earned from it, shows you how commercial the record company believed that record to be. And it was a 3-second sample, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And we know he bought houses off the back of that record. That was an astronomical success for FFRR, wasn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Go on, Mark. What you going to say?
No, I was going to say, I remember when he told me, we were out, I think we were at Hanover Grand or something, and he told me how much they got for an advance, and I was just like, what? Wow.
It was insane. Well, do you think Lazy was as big as Southside Nugget, Mark?
Yeah, I mean,
probably
different record, really, I guess. But Lazy was definitely a seminal moment for Express 2, and a brilliant record, and fair play to them. I mean, it was fantastic, and to get David Byrne on it was a real coup, I think, for them as well. And I always remember, like, Rocky got invited to go on Top of the Pops. Remember Top of the Pops? Like that was that show, kids, right? That people used to do every week. That was like the top 40, right? And I remember Rocky got invited to go on Top of the Pops, and he was like, I don't want to do it. And they ended up, all they did was they got a couple of bunk beds, and Rocky's just on there. He was just laying on a bunk bed like that while David Byrne's doing his thing, saying I'm lazy and stuff like that.
Well, I'll always have my claim to fame that I turned down going on Top of the Pops when we were in the charts. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I remember.
Pardon?
Why did you turn it down?
Because I didn't want to go and be stood behind a pair of decks that weren't wired up, pretending to do some scratching on a record that contained no bloody scratching. What was
So why didn't you learn a dance routine and just do a dance routine?
Because
I wasn't we all really would have paid for that. We all would have paid that. The license fee would have been an absolute given that year if we had that.
Have you not seen me in the train line advert?
Yeah. But no, I find that interesting, because we're talking about commercialization and charting of underground credible dance records that were crossing over into the mainstream. Now, if you'd have performed on Top of the Pops, who's to say you would not be the David Guetta that is there today? Do you see what I mean? Because it's a
it wouldn't have happened. Timmy went and it didn't turn. It didn't happen for him.
What I would say is life is all about decisions. But what I would say, Rocky, I said, like, what was the motivation? He said, I did it for my mum. He goes, I wanted my mum to be able to say, my boy's been on Top of the Pops. Or, it's fair play to him. You know what I mean?
Wicked.
As well, if you think about that period that you're talking about up until Ultranate, it wasn't that dance music hadn't been big before, because, as I said, Chicago had their time. Then we had that whole Soul to Soul, Lisa Stansfield, what the guys out of Bristol called
Massive Attack.
So that but then it was just a period of, because that was about 110 BPM or maybe a little bit slower, and then it was just that bit in between, and and then we were doing our thing, with the New York US garage sound or whatever. So it had gone back really underground, what you would listen to in a dance club. So but yeah, once that hit, I think it was like, you get things like Turn Around and all of
or
that.
someone Dan Wood mentioned Stardust. I think that was 98, 99. That was huge in Ibiza, and then that, I don't remember where that got to in the charts, but I know it was a huge in all the clubs. You play that, they go crazy for it.
Who did Turn Around? Because that was when it
Fats
was
and
like,
Small.
Yeah, at that point, anything. I think it was like anything.
Well, I think that was 2000. Turn Around, was it?
I even wanted to go back a little bit further. I'm like just thinking about records and going back to my ute, and thinking about things. And two records jumped out into my mind. One, Rosala, Everybody's Free. Everybody's Free to Feel Good. Remember that? And then K-Class, Rhythm is a Mystery. I remember the first time I heard K-Class, Rhythm is a Mystery in about 1991. I was at a boys' own party in Milton Keynes. It was on the Queen's Land, actually, HRH, Her Royal Highness. It was on the Queen's Land in Milton Keynes. They put out a massive marquee. And I swear to you, I was floating around the top of this marquee. I felt like I had springs in my feet, and they played Paul Oakenfold played K-Class, Rhythm is a Mystery. Before, it was like the first time, before it crossed over, before it hit the charts, before everything. Whoa, what a record that was. So there's always been that kind of, that for me, that piano, that vocal, that element, for me, 10 City and stuff like that was so underground, back in the day, Right Back to You and Devotion and all that kind of stuff, and That's the Way Love Is. All those kind of records were where I really felt like, wow, this is beautiful. This is soulful music that I loved in the 80s, but with a dance beat. And then it went, obviously, the UK got it, and we did all these kind of other records. But for me, where we are and what we listen to these days, will it ever cross over this beautiful soulful sound that we come up with? I don't know. But the point is that I think we're all just happy because we've got that soul in our bones. Right?
A question I'd like to know from all of you, because it's something that I guess we all fight with, is when that underground record becomes overground and commercial and accessible, do you stop playing it? Or do you continue to support it? And I'll give you some examples, because some people say they get overplayed and your ears start bleeding because you've heard them so much. Days Like These, Crystal Waters, Gypsy Woman. Just two examples of records that everybody was desperate to get hold of. Ultranate, Free. I mean, I first heard that at Garage City.
I've got one for you, Craig.
You've got Where Love Lives, another one, Where Love Lives. And they get everybody, and I know it was different back in the day when we were getting promos and there was only a certain number made, you couldn't get hold of them, then it gets released, you get it, everybody's played it to death, everyone sort of moves on. Are you, and this is a question to all of you, are you not, I wouldn't call it musical snobbery, but once it becomes that, and it goes over that line that gets drawn in the sand, do you stop playing them? And do you come back to them eventually, or are you done and dusted?
I'll answer first, if I may. For me, pop is just short for popular, right? Yeah, a record becomes popular, and if people love it, it's generally because the record's actually good or catchy or has something that people hook onto. My personal feeling is, I'm interested in everyone's opinion, but my personal feeling is that I play a record while it feels good to me.
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm. That's a perfect answer, really. I have always the same, and it was a different era, as you say, Craig. You summed it up perfectly. Having a record so far before many other people and playing it for so long, you would naturally get past playing that record at the time that it crossed over. But then, for example, days like this, I know, people roll their eyes when anybody ever plays it, but you can't deny what an amazing record it is. And for me, in the year 2000, I listened to that record, it transports me right back to a beautiful moment as the sun was coming up, playing for Soul Heaven at El Divino. It was just the most beautiful occasion. It was still new, hot off the press. I'm playing the song. It's just euphoric. And so, I was one of the people who helped break that record in the UK. So I share that record with pride, even though, because I know how everyone feels about it, it's very rare that I would actually spin it again, if that's an answer.
Yeah, no, I just find it interesting because you get a lot of DJ snobbery. I played it, I've been there, I'm not going back to it. But I'm like yourself. I think I wouldn't necessarily play it every time I played, but I definitely still take it and make sure I've got something like that with me, because I know the reaction it's going to get, or something like that it's going to get. John Cutler, It's Yours is probably...
Imagine having a record in your arsenal like Strings of Life, being expected to play it. You know what I mean?
You would be expected to play it, wouldn't you? Yeah, of course.
Go on, Lee. You got an answer to that?
I paid my gate money to see Andy Ward, and he didn't play the tune. I mean, that's
and that's the expectation, isn't it? Yeah. I suppose the same goes for Mickey Morrison.
Yeah.
I think you have a period where you probably go, now I'll just leave that, but then. It comes in on another cycle. It's a bit like, I don't know, Alias, Follow Me. There's a bit of time where...
That's another big one, isn't it?
Yeah. Can I just say very quickly, it's funny, everybody says Alias. I'm sure it's Alias. It makes sense that it's Alias.
Yeah, it does.
But Alias is ALIAS, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I could tell you 1,000 different misspellings. Go on, Lee, sorry.
I think... I sometimes think especially when you play these brunch type gigs, that you've got a bit of a responsibility. It's almost a bit of a soulful house, sort of new disco for dummies a little bit, because everybody needs to, you want to introduce them to the sound as well. There's so many different sounds of house music, so it sits into that quite well, so it's you sprinkle a bit of them in and everybody goes away happy. Now the 23-year-old version of me would have been, that's now it's going down. We're dealing with it like this, and if they don't like it, then don't book me.
It was a different scene, wasn't it? Ray says, what are your thoughts on the amount of subgenres? Is it stopping people playing a great track as it's not house? I mean, Craig, are you diverse with your music policy?
I like the statement you made and what Mark said. I play exactly what I want and what I like based on the years of experience I've gathered being a DJ. I know not to play a 73 beat per minute new disco boogie groove when you've got a group of intoxicated househeads having it in front of you, unless you really want to change the mood. And I think it's
unless you want to get them home early.
Yeah, but it's the art of being a DJ. And that's you can turn up with track sources, I don't know, whatever, top 50 downloads, stick a USB in, play one after the other, because most people can mix these days with a bit of practice on their home systems. But anybody can do that, isn't it? And the Soulful House ethos that we've all lived by and died by a few times on a few dance floors is about that musical journey and telling a story, isn't it? And they're the best nights when you read a crowd and you tell them a story, like going back to the hedonistic days of David Mancuso on Valentine's night, curating a 4-hour set that took him 3 weeks with every single piece of music linked to the art of love and being in love and sharing a loved experience. I mean, it takes 10 minutes to download 20 records off tracks.
I love that, proper romanticizing there. Deli G joins us.
That's just a story and just the thought process that has gone behind a set that he's interweaving music all linked to love. You just think, wow.
I do think that younger people, they don't have not all, you can't say everybody, but they don't have the attention span for some of those build-ups or some of those that we had in our music. Like you said, Love, Where Love Lives, especially the long version. I just don't know whether or not a song like that would have done it today, because it is a journey within itself, and in a world where you swipe right, swipe left, or you do this, or you know, everything's quick. Everything is about encapsulated in a short period of time. I think that when I listen to a lot of the deep house, what they call deep house or deep tech, it hits the bass line so quickly, because it's almost like we got to get this done and then get on to the next tune, you know what I mean? And even the way people DJ with the hand in the air, it's about the drop. It's the drop. I got to drop 20 drops in this set, whereas, you know, we didn't. What was that? You know what I mean?
No, it's madness. As I said earlier, it's a madness, bruv. I did start off by saying hi to Delhi. Also, shout out to Pogwash joining us. Delhi, will get you back on and have a good old chat a little bit more. Mark, you did a set at the weekend on Release Radio. Were you buying new music, or were you going through your digital archives?
No, I basically keep a folder on my laptop now for each month. So each month I've just obviously got a March folder, and I just like get new tunes. So I had CJ McIntosh play at the Isha Theatre for us the other week. I love CJ. There's just something about CJ for me. Just, I mean, there was Frankie Knuckles, and then there's CJ, and you know, Frankie was just.
I bet Frankie Knuckles was happier than CJ.
Frankie Knuckles was just an absolute legend, such a legend that I've named my little French bulldog after him, Frankie. So, you know, Frankie
Knuckles is a very strange name for a bulldog.
let's leave that. Yeah, let's leave that. There's a lot of history about that, but Frankie Knuckles was I mean, just the main man, wasn't he? But CJ is, you know, for me, he's like the UK's finest, in my humble opinion. I've heard that man many times on the main room at Ministry of Sound. I always loved him, and he played at January. We did a live remix live in January, and I got him to come down. I got him to play for about 3 hours, and we had about 100 people there, so it's quite an intimate thing. But it was just about 100 of us just appreciating great music, all dancing. And he just played these tracks, and he pulled out this Michael Jackson off the wall just out of nowhere. You know, when someone just gently just mixes something in, and you go like, where's that come from? Do you know what I mean? How's that happen? So I'm going over to him going like, Chris, CJ. I'm like spotter with my little phone and that, you know. And he goes, I said, what's this? He says, Dave Lee's version of Michael Jackson Off the Wall. And I was just like, so I got straight onto Facebook, Dave, do I have a copy of that? And so, you know, I got it off Dave. I put it into my folder. And then each month I just fill up my USB stick with new records. They're just records that I've heard or records that I like, records that I want to play. And I love Release Radio, honestly. Just having the opportunity once a month, I go in there. I do the Saturday shuffle. I do it from 6 till 8 p.m. There's loads of people listening. There's loads of interaction. It keeps that musical buzz alive. Where my life was 100% music, now it's maybe like 3%. My point is that just that little bit is good for me. And then I do a few of my events and a few other things, and that's great. And you know, that I would never lose that. Like Craig was saying, you know, I kind of thought one day maybe I would properly grow up and like not be that involved. But you know, my contract at Heathrow finishes in 2 months' time. I'm booking studio days. I've got half-finished records with Ramplin. I've got a half-finished record with Angela Johnson. I've got lots of stuff to go in and finish. I just haven't had the time to do it in the last 9 months because I've been on this Heathrow contract. I cannot wait to get back in the studio and make a few songs again. You know what I mean? Because it's just it's in there. It's not going anywhere. And I'm 52, and I'll probably be 92 and still in there going, "Come on, let's make a record." You know what I mean?
Well, we're waiting for you to get back on your Monday Motivation lives as well.
That's coming.
You know, so that's all good. Ray King was agreeing with you, saying his favourite set at a vocal booth weekender was CJ when he played on a Friday night back in 2016. The main man. Jimmy Ellis joins us all the way from down under. Good morning, my friend. How are you, Jimmy? A legend of the dance floor, indeed. And another mighty fine DJ. And Pugwash is commenting on your words, Lee. He says, the house scene isn't unique for overplayed records, R&B and hip-hop. They all had the same issues. Ain't that the truth? I mean, this comes down to just the general public. You know, we forget how very underground we were. And then when house crossed over and we had the curse of having to getting big nights in big venues. Craig will be the first person to be able to relate to this, because I remember L'America has always been one of the most respected nights in the UK, without a shadow of a doubt. But there was a time period where some of the venues that you went to were a little bit more on the commercial edge, right, Craig?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. With anything, inception, you establish yourself, you get popular, you need to keep the juggernaut rolling. And with that comes bigger DJs, bigger costs, bigger venues, even bigger DJs to fill those bigger venues. And it's just akin to making successful crossover music. You've got to add catchy vocals to an instrumental to make it more appealing, haven't you? Like M&S, Soul Nugget, like
Strings of Life, Andy Ward.
Strings of Life, that was a big one. They added a big vocal to that, didn't they? They must have, I wonder how much they had that for an advance. It'd be interesting to find out who made that, how much they got for that.
I got a statement. Yeah, I don't mind sharing this because it's not particularly amazing. I got a royalty statement in the week, right? And I opened it from Defected. We had 616,000 streams, right, in the last period. 200 quid.
I was going to say £3.50.
Crazy.
Incredible. But still, it's...
And that's relatively low numbers, really, streaming. Underground DJs selling music on Traxsource are getting 2 million streams on Spotify.
Wow. It's incredible.
It's mad.
And I think going back to that, you get caught up in the commerciality of the event and wanting to do more and put on more and get bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where something always loses focus. Musical integrity being probably the first thing that goes, because I remember I did Kerry Chandler, Dennis Ferrer, Moody Man, and Ami from Dixon and Ami, the German techno, it was deep housey, sort of melodic techno, accessible. It was quite close to what we were doing, not too much. And then it did really, really well, but the costs were astronomical. And then you start thinking, I wonder if I could put... Do you remember Feddy Legrand? He had a song called...
Put Your Hands Up for Detroit. We did a big remix of that as well.
Massive, absolutely massive. Musically, when I put him on, sold out the venue in minutes. And I was just 2,500 people thinking, this
cha-ching.
is it now. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. I'm going to be buying a mini Metro next week. One of them kind of. But then he's DJing and you're thinking, what have I done? What have I done? People are enjoying themselves. You can imagine what my wife was thinking, looking at me across, thinking, what have you done? You're ruining what we've worked so hard for. And I think trying to get that balance as a promoter and a DJ is massive, because being underground and credible doesn't bring you the riches that life...
Well, Craig, what I was going to say, I heard a comedian say this once. Being underground and being cool is all very well. And then at some point in life, you sign a document that says your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
And someone
then you suddenly go, I'm underground.
Someone said to me, the only people that are credible underground are the Wombles. And look what happened to them. And I just thought, you know what?
Where are they now? Back on the building site.
Where are they now? And then just over time, you just start thinking, I want to go back to where it all began, because I used to enjoy it. It's like anything, when it becomes work and it becomes a challenge and it becomes not as enjoyable as you'd hoped, then you've got to strip it back a little bit. And I was very, very guilty of that in the sort of mid-2008 to probably 2013, putting Roger Sanchez on, because he was a great DJ, great producer back in the 90s. In the 2000s, he became Roger Sanchez's Another Chance, which
but did he bring the people? Did he bring? Because I'm not sure that the names
sold out, absolutely sold out, but it's just, it becomes not. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. Then you're doing it as a business, and when you're doing it as a business, it becomes work, and then like any job, you become a little bit, not complacent's the wrong word, but I felt under pressure, and I didn't want it to be a working, but I wanted it to be always an enjoyable, pleasurable experience.
Mark will be the first person to shout at you about this, but were you more concerned as well about what your mates would say about you?
Yeah. 100%. I remember I put Carl Cox on. It's something I would never have done normally. But you know, as a promoter, you're desperately trying to get and it was for me, Louis Vega, Kenny Dope, Frankie Knuckles, David Morales, Tony Humphries. And I was getting them, and they were coming and they were playing. The nights were great. And then you start getting offered by the same agencies that they start migrating to. Oh, you know, we look after Carl Cox, don't you? Yeah, but Carl Cox is not really what I want to do. But you know he's going to sell your venue out, right? You know you could do us. And then you start thinking, Carl Cox, that's going to sell out in seconds. I could charge whatever. Do you see what I mean? And then you don't get greedy, but you just get business savvy. And I lost my focus with it because I wouldn't have thought, I wouldn't have said I got greedy, but it became a business. And Helen was working full time with it. I was DJing everywhere. So I was getting my fix playing Soulful House wherever I was playing. But then the big Americas were not really the Soulful House underground credible ethos that we wanted. It was a juggernaut of bloody chaos that got a bit out of control a little bit. And then I can remember I put a fella called Layback Luke on, who was part of the Swedish House Mafia-ish. He was on the periphery. I put Axwell on from the Swedish House Mafia and Sebastian Ingrosso. And I can remember standing there thinking, nah, this ain't for me, this. I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. Because I was dreading them playing the music they were going to play. Because me and my mates were like, we'll go up in the bar, you know? Yeah, and we weren't enjoying it. So I think that was our issue. But thankfully, the train's back on the tracks, the jockey's back on the horse, and we're back doing what we love. And I'm really, really proud and pleased that the people that were with us at the beginning are still with us now. They came on that journey and they were caught up in that furor, if you like, of the way, because the Soulful House sound disappeared. And not overnight, over a period of years, all our bookings got lesser and lesser because the clubs were demanding more and more. And that tech house sound or deep tech or the EDM sound came in. Miami got disintegrated and decimated by that sound. And I was still trying to find a place and see where I fitted in, I think.
Lee, did you, sorry, Mark, were you going to say something? Let me just ask Lee a question, please. Did you ever, Lee, get to the point, because I know you've been promoting parties for a while. You were playing R&B and more commercial-led evenings, I'm sure. You never played EDM or anything like that, right?
No. That's a little bit. The thing is, I still always want to be able to, whether or not it was the R&B stuff or UK garage, or because I was just promoting. You know, I mean, I was just trying to promote half decent music, but I knew there was a period where, you know, you masters at work. You know, it wasn't. They were still getting odd remixes, but you weren't seeing that much stuff coming through. You know, and you couldn't really play that in some of the clubs. So it was just like, you know, what am I going to do here? And you know, as a working DJ, you've got to still just try and find a little bit of the ecosystem that you can live in and live with yourself in. But it's hurt a lot of the time. Younger jocks coming up playing what I would say was noise. A lot of noisy music and blowing up, and then with the whole social media thing where it was like, you don't really have to be good, you just need to shout loud. And we were from a time where you had to be good, you know, and that's been difficult. It's been difficult to adjust your head around, because some of these guys are saying, you know, I've only been DJing 6 months, but I've got, you know, 15,000 followers on my Instagram or whatever, and I'm playing here, and you're just like, well, what's going on? You know, it's just strange. It's a strange world. But you've got to just say, well, I'm doing what I do, and a lot of people have quit. Look how many people we've all probably started with, and they're
not around anymore. Well, Mark, you a self-confessed soulful house music lover yourself. You were playing at some of these clubs, and then as the music progressed and your productions changed, you were seen to be playing slightly harder. Was there ever a time where you looked inward and thought, I'm not enjoying what I'm doing here? Or were you just totally caught up in it and loving it?
No. I mean, I think that's when I started to get sick of it, actually, when I was getting booked to play in sort of, bars and clubs, and I had, I don't know, drunk people, should I say, asking me for Robin S for about the 10th time that night. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I was like, what am I, just a jukebox? You know what I mean? This is not, and I decided basically at that point to, I want to say quit, but no way, I didn't quit. I just stepped back and went, I'm going to do other things. The business side of it is really interesting, from the discussion that we've had in the last few minutes and all the different views on it. It comes down to a couple of simple things for me. One is bums on seats, darling, bums on seats, right? That's the theatre people, that's what they would have told you. That's all it's about. It's just getting people through the door, which is Craig was kind of, dare I say, it was almost like the trap that you fell into almost, that it was just part of what, but it was part of that experience, and you had to go through that experience to come out the other side of it. But the bit that I wish I'd learned when I was younger, this is the absolute, like, drop the mic thing, was I wish I'd studied more with someone like Bob Proctor and people like that when they talked about entrepreneurs and multiple sources of income. I wish I'd done that, right? Earlier. I do it now and I do it masterfully well and I love it. But with multiple sources of income, I could choose, or any one of us could choose, exactly what we were doing and making sure that our night or where we were playing or whatever we were doing, as a DJ, I was getting booked to pay the bills, but I wasn't loving it. And I did fall out of love with it for a while. As I've written about in my book. Craig, it sounds like you kind of went through that whole process as well, booking those DJs. I'm sure Lee and Andy can relate to that as well. In fact, Andy's got that wonderful video that I mention every time we're on, but really playing in an empty square somewhere. But the point is that, now, knowing what I know now around multiple sources of income, that's how I'm going to keep making music for the rest of my life, because I'm not relying on it for money. And I can just make the music I want to make, and it just comes out of me, and it's soul, and I love it, and it's beautiful. And it's the same with playing your DJ gig here and there. I'm not going to go and play somewhere. There's not enough money in the world for someone to come book me to go and play in the middle of an EDM gig, because I don't care. I'm just not interested. If someone wants me to play at a beautiful soulful event, then of course I'd absolutely love to do that.
If only you knew someone who had a beautiful soulful event in the sunshine. I
kind of do know someone, and I'm sure I'll be rocking up there in whenever it is, September, October. But my point is that that's all this is about. It's just about soul music comes from our soul, right? And if it's got a house beat behind it, which we can all dance to and we all like, then we do it because it's passion, not for the dollars, right? And I think that's a mistake that I've definitely made. Craig, clearly you're relating to that as well, but
well, DJ Purple joins us stateside. How are you, Reggie? Just reading a few of the comments here. Ray asks us another question, which we won't answer now, but I'll ask it out loud anyway. He says, how did you all get into DJing, and when did you realise you had made it? Well, I think we've probably had 3 or 4 conversations in the past. If you go back through the chats that we've done, we do document our rise to worldwide superstardom, and the limousines and the white doves and and all of that. But the story has been told. But what I want to do is, because we've been talking for a while, we could easily be chatting for hours, but I want to start bringing this back around to life after COVID now, not focusing on COVID, but the energy, the momentum that we've built up, 3 completely different journeys with you guys. So let's start with Craig. We talked about it at the top of the show. The L'America party is celebrating 25 years. The energy is there for you now. And I have asked you before, but I'm going to ask again because I've got a feeling it might have changed since I asked you before. Are you now starting to get a younger crowd? Because you said not so much before.
Not so much younger. We're getting, because my parties are smaller, we do get younger people attending. It's not just a geriatrics afternoon lever. We are getting youngsters, but they tend to pick and choose. Casey, when I put Horse Meat Disco on, we had a lot of youngsters for whatever reason, quite popular, I guess, with the glitter box defected kind of thing. But Young Pulse, that's bringing and attracting a younger clientele because of how popular him and his music and the style of disco and that ethos and the energy, they can just relate to it, I guess. But we're lucky. We've got people now that are my age, our age, in their mid-50s, and they're very comfortable coming to our club. They're not being chastised because they should be at home with the grandkids or in the potting shed or baking apple pie because they're old age people. People come on their own to our parties, and it's lovely to see and hear, really, because we are a family, like the vocal booth and like the things we've all been doing all our lives. We do it because we love it, and we surround ourselves with our friends who have got a similar interest, and that's probably the lucky part of it. And I think going back to that lad's question, sorry, whose name I forget, about Ray, knowing when you've made it. For me, knowing when you've made it is when you've got a club full of your friends that can appreciate the same thing as you can appreciate. And it's not about the money. It's about that moment and taking you back, Andy, to that spinner, days like this moment. It transports you to a specific time and place. And I think that's what we're always trying to create, to recreate those special moments. And we've been lucky that we've been able to do that. And it's not about the fame, because Lee pointed it out earlier. If we'd have changed the music we play, that loads of us, we'd have been a lot further up the ladder than potentially we are now, if that's what our chosen pathway was. If we hadn't have stuck to that underground soulful family ethos that we all bought into, we could have all been, superstars, for want of a better expression. But we were doing it for the love of it back then, because we were promoting a craft of creating and curating a sound and a style that was different, and it wasn't overground. It was very underground, and that loyal fan base that you build up and trust. Because I remember America, I was putting on DJs nobody had ever heard of, but they trusted in the music that we were going to play and promote because they knew what was going to come. And then, fortunately, then as the demands of being a promoter, you've got to put on people, as Mark said, to put bums on seats, and that's when you lose a bit of focus. And I think, that's where I'm at with that, I'd say. That's where you're at. Wow, all the very best. Remind me of the Young Pulse date. Bank Holiday Sunday, 30th of April. And it is wonderful and lovely that people still believe and trust in something that's been going for a long, long time, because, as Lee said earlier, people are looking for the next thing generally, or what's new, or what's in vogue, or the fads. But reliability and consistency for me is key. And I believe, going back full circle, if I consistently deliver something solid, reliable, they'll keep coming back, and they will bring others with them. I relate to that 100%. That's exactly the situation I'm in myself. Lee, your first Soulful House DJs party, remind me of it's Angelica, right? Angelica, Leeds, yeah. Dates. It's a nice spot. So, I've decided that we do it there because people were just like, a lot of other streams have had parties and you haven't had one yet, and what's happening with it. And, there was an element that I thought, well, we could just leave it on the Mixcloud. But you know what? I think it's going to be a good get together. Okay, confirm the date for me. That is Bank Holiday Sunday, 7th of May, King's Coronation. Okay. And a whole heap of the UK's finest are going to be converging on there. Are you teaming up with anybody, or is it Soulful House DJs? Just the stream, yeah. Wonderful. All the very best with that. And Mark, not necessarily promoting any events, apart from your Do It the ministry, there is a wells of
different aspects of everything Mark Wilkinson. So tell us as eloquently as you can everything that's going on for you right now.
Well, there's a lot, but before I do that, I just want to say, moment to celebrate the fact that everyone on this stream still doing it, still enjoying it, still getting the passion from it, still bringing the joy to others, still sharing great music from each one of you. You know what I mean? I think it's something else, and yeah, all power to you, chaps. You know what I mean? All around the UK and beyond Spain. You know, obviously with Andy, I think it's wonderful. I think it's so good. So yeah, of course. So we've got the Do at the Ministry on May the 10th. It's a Wednesday night. Live from Mix Live. Tickets on Eventbrite now. There you go. I'm kind of laughing about for some reason when you were all talking there, and I was just thinking, build it and they will come. It was Field of Dreams, wasn't it? Just build it and they will be there, right? Yeah, as I say, you know, I've got lots of things going on. I've got all my coaching. I've got 75 coaching clients across the world, from Australia to Japan to Dubai, across Europe, into America, all across the UK. I love doing what I'm doing. I love being able to make a difference in other people's lives, teaching them all the stuff from the book. I'm at Heathrow at the moment. I'm buying properties still. I'm running businesses. I'm writing my second book, which will be out, I hope, later this year once I've got some time back on my hands. And we run our book clubs, Andy, which I know you've joined. You know, we just do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of learning. My whole ethos is to just help others. I want to help people not go through incurable disease and bankruptcy that I went through, because it sucked, and I don't want other people to have to go through it. So at the end of the day, if anyone can learn from my experience, even if they just pick up my book and learn it from a distance, or they get in touch because they want to have a chat with me, or they decide to come into the coaching group or whatever, whatever people do, you know, my whole thing is celebrating life, helping other people. And to be fair, some people have said to me, well, how have you gone from DJ to like what you're doing now? I'm like, it's exactly the same thing. When people come to a club, what do all of us want to do? We want to play records. We want people to enjoy it. We want them to have a great night, and we want them to go home happy. Well, everything I do, like not just for a couple of hours DJing on a Saturday night or Friday night, but now everything I do from the moment I'm awake to the moment I go to sleep every day is aligned with that purpose. And it's working really well, and I love my life. It's great.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Wonderful. A word that I have had drilled home in me on many occasions. Wonderful. It's been lovely chatting to you all, guys. I mean, we can stick around while I just say Paul Farris joins us from Brisbane. Good morning, Paul. Nice to see you, mate. He says a little bit late, but good morning anyway. I love this. Reggie says, DJ Purple says, I love that he has a book. I'm working on a book and I hope to get it finished by the end of next year. Reggie, if you haven't spoken to Mark, reach out to him, because if anyone can help you, he is the man to help you. Live Remixed, available in all good stores. Any other questions?
And a few rubbish ones as well, I suppose.
Any other questions? Get them in now before I say goodbye to the guys. Anybody else had anything that's come up in the conversation amongst us four that they wanted to say that they might have got cut off?
T-shirt, Andy. I think we should celebrate that fantastic design. We spoke about it before we came live. The head bag, the classic golfer jacket, the Adidas trainers, the Burberry bucket hat. I mean, that's an ode to the 80s football casual.
Well, you know what? That's really strange. Thank you for saying. Shout out to Dave Elders. Original Casuals are the brand. I pretty much wear only their kit. It's really great material and some fantastic designs. But I was going to bring up a conversation earlier and it just didn't flow. All of us are from pretty tasty towns and cities with a seedy underbelly that ran alongside the clubbing nights. And I think that would be an interesting conversation one time, right?
Yeah, great conversation, that.
we would have to choose our words carefully for fear of getting battered.
We got Chelsea, the softy southerner over there on the right. We got proper Leeds in the middle, Brummie, and we got proper South Wales Cardiff. Do you know, that'd be a good squad, that.
There was what was that pub? It was like one of the hardest pubs in Britain, in Cardiff, right? One of the some football factory style shows came down there.
probably, no, it wouldn't be the Napier, would it? No.
It was all the Soul Crew, wasn't it? It was the Soul Crew, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the Soul Crew.
Ray King saying, up the villa. And Ray also says, purpose-driven is right. Okay, guys, well, listen, I'm quite happy to sit here chatting all evening, but I'm sure we've all got better things to do, right?
No, well, first of all, I'd just like to say thanks again for setting up, Andy. It's been great to see
definitely.
you.
It was lovely to have you all, and I will do it again every few months. Well, it probably turns around every 18 months.
It's crazy is just how quickly time has gone. You know,
2 years. From
that period of what's going on, and it's another lockdown and everything, and just how quickly time's gone.
But this is the first time the four of us have all been together, because Craig let us down one time, Lee couldn't make it, Mark never lets me down. That's what I love about Mark.
But what I would say about that is that 2 years, right? That's your life, chaps, right? It goes quick, right? So make sure to anyone who's watching, anyone's listening, make sure you're doing what you enjoy doing, and make the most of it, because it does go quickly, big time.
And buy whatever moisturiser you three are buying and using, because you all look really, really young. I feel ancient at the moment.
You go and get the rest of your pyjamas on.
You look great. Right, I am going to boot you out of my Zoom. Gentlemen, love you loads.
You all, guys.
I love you guys. Take care.
Take care.
Guys. Thank you.
See you later. Right, is this going to work now? Am I going to still be here? Have they gone? They've gone. I'm still here. Are we still live? Yes, we are. Okay, so a new screen to end the screen. Shut up, Andrew. A new screen to end the stream. You'll see here on the right-hand side, or is it your left? Who knows? Next week, depending on when you watch this video, I'll be talking to a young lady who is going to be telling us about how she is learning to live with lupus, going against all of the doctor's diagnoses, and it's going to be an interesting conversation, an exploration into a non-music conversation. I'm looking forward to that. At the end of the show, you will see a list of anybody that has subscribed while we've been on air. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do subscribe if you want to. And it would mean a lot to me if you could actually like the video, because it allows me to get into the line of sight of more people. We hear content creators saying it all the time. I'm not too fussed about you subscribing if you're not going to come back and watch again. But if you can like the video, it would mean a lot to me. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Deli. Thank you, Julian. Jimmy, respect. Emily, thank you. Anyone else that was passing through. And of course, the many people who do come back and check out the recordings. I have got a whole heap of conversations with many of the UK's finest. The momentum on the channel is really, really picking up some speed. And I thank you all for your support. Okay, so stick around, guys. Your names will be at the end if you've recently subscribed. And that's it. All the best. Respect. Shout out, Big Man Boy. You got in there just in time. See you later, folks. Take care.